Welcome to More Than Dentistry, where your hosts Evert and Waldo discuss life, dentistry, and everything in between with dentists around the world.
Hello and welcome to the More Than Dentistry podcast.
Morning. This morning we're talking to Janel Welgemoed. She's a dentist from Cape Town. She's the owner of Longbeach. It's Longbeach Dental. Is that right, Janel?
That's good morning, Evert.
Yeah.
Good morning to everyone listening. Yeah.
Me and Janel met. I think I met her a while ago in Cape Town, and ever since I've heard a lot about her. She's a very inspiring dentist and leader in Cape Town, and all the people that work for her. She's got quite a few dentists working for her, and everyone speaks very highly of her. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to her. And so, Janel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Evert. It's really a compliment for me. Being, I know your blog and your podcast is more for very younger dentists and so on. So I'm happy to contribute, and maybe they can still learn something from the more experienced dentists. I don't think I see myself as an older dentist, but I'm definitely experienced.
Definitely
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Janel, I think what always catches my eyes when I speak to people that worked for you, how highly they speak of you. So you're definitely quite a good leader and an inspiring leader, and that's why I want to talk to you about your leadership skills and your systems that you've got in place. Firstly, tell us just a little bit more about your journey in dentistry. Where did you study, and tell us about yourself up to this point.
Yeah, I qualified I grew up in Cape Town, and then I qualified in 91 at Stellenbosch University. And growing up in Cape Town, I decided, to spread my wings, and I applied for a job in Johannesburg with Uli van Schalkwyk, who later become quite one of the top management people in Medicross. Anyway, he was the
Is he still at Medicross? Is he still the?
He's still at Medicross, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I was going to spend about 5 years learning from him. He had a fantastic practice in Edenvale, and I only ended up spending 8 months there because I got an opportunity to start my own practice in Cape Town. But that 8 months that I spent there, I learned an incredible amount from him and a lot from his dental assistant. And I think that set the tone for me for how I practiced myself, and also to give back to younger dentists, because he was such an incredible mentor to me. And I think after all the years of practicing, I still, think of him a lot and the things that I've learned in that 8 months. So in a very short period, you can learn a lot. Just open to it. And then, like I said, I got opportunities to start doing squatting with a lady medical doctor in Cape Town. And that practice was in that time, a rural area in Cape Town, Noordhoek.
Okay.
And over the years, as the area expanded, the practice also expanded. Later on, the two disciplines separated. The medical practice is now next door to me. And our practice literally grew organically with one additional surgery every 5 years. Okay. So now we've got 2 practices, one in Noordhoek and one in Simonstown, and all in all 7 surgeries that we run.
Okay. And just let's go back to Uli van Schalkwyk. What was the things that you learned from him that stood out in that time that you worked for him?
The dentistry is actually a very down-to-earth kind of industry. You just have to have common sense, and then like I said, over the years you pick up things from people, and if you just use the advice and the tips that you get from experienced people, that can set you, on a way that you can really advance yourself. So one of the things that I learned from him, he was an excellent clinician. He didn't really give a lot of attention to admin and running of the practice, but he always said, if your hands are not working, you're not earning income. And that was, he had a very interesting private life. He read a lot, but when he came to work, he worked, and he put everything into it. And he had passion. That's the one thing. He had passion, and his staff had passion. And I think if you've got passion for what you're doing, that also sets you apart from the rest, because that inspires you to always better yourself, to take your staff and your team with you. And I think that really is crucial for any practice to sustain itself and to move forward.
Yeah. Just to stay with him, why did he end up going to Medicross? What was his journey in Medicross? Do you know?
I think he had an opportunity. He also, more from his dad was a lawyer, and like I said, he had a vast interest in what was going on around him, and he had an extremely strong practice. And he also, I think, he had a yearning to also be in administration. So
Okay.
Medicross, I think he was one of the first practices that was converted to Medicross, and then
Okay.
he also negotiated a position in the admin part of it and moved forward.
You guys still have contact or not really?
Yeah. I speak to him from time to time, and then his dental assistant, Isabel Pretorius, became one of the procurement people at Medicross, and also training and overseeing the staff. So she also has got a vast experience of, and I often see her as well, about how things in the practice should work, and things, for instance, like infection control and all the measures, legalities and measures that should be in place in practice. So although I don't, from time to time she gives me advice, but yeah, I still have contact with both of them.
Maybe you can get us in contact with him and we can interview him for the podcast as well.
Yeah,
It would be interesting to get him on.
It will be interesting. Yeah, very much so.
Okay, so then you went to Cape Town and you were on your own. You were a single one-man practice or one-woman practice for how long?
For about 3 years, and then I've moved around so a lot. In the same, like literally 500 meters, we changed our practice and moved our practice every time that we expanded. So from a 2 surgery practice, one for the medical doctor and one for myself. About 3 years later, we doubled up. So she took in another doctor and I took in another dentist, and then after that lease of 5 years was complete, we moved and we separated the 2 disciplines. The doctors went on their own and I went on my own. We put another surgery in a new mall that opened across the mall where I was practicing, and I think maybe and then after that I bought a premises of my own and then expanded. Like I said, our practice expanded with a new surgery every 5 years, and that was very much to do with 2 things: the growth of the area. And I think for young dentists who wants to start their own practice, going into a joint venture, for a lack of a better word, with a medical doctor is a good idea, because they have a high turnover of patients. Every 4 patients, we see about 1.
Yeah.
And you get the cross-reference. So that's, and then also another one is in a shopping mall. It is expensive, but if you're starting up, you're almost guaranteed of feet. So that was almost sense. A winning combination for me in my practice. And even now with the new practice in Simonstown is in a shopping center with a medical facility and a day hospital. So, the rentals are normally a little bit more than when you do in a house, but it is definitely an almost fail-proof type of, way to start a practice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a good tip for young dentists who want to start off on its own. Is to I always say, and I firmly still believe it, that you shouldn't just start off squatting. You should join an experienced dentist like yourself to get some tips and learn as much as you can. And then if you want to do your own thing, then you can go out and do your own thing. There's just so much to learn from another dentist, like someone. One of the girls that actually worked for you came to me once and asked if what should she do? Should she go somewhere else or go work for you? And I was like, how can you not go work for Janel? I mean, you're going to learn so much from her. You're going to put yourself 10 years ahead if you just go work for her. So I'm so glad she ended up working for you, and you can just see the value in that already. So my advice is always go out and go find someone that you can learn from. Go find a mentor and stick to that mentor for as long as you need to. And then if you can join them in their practice, that's what I eventually did. I joined my mentor basically in practice. But if you can't, then do your own thing, and you're going to learn so much more than just trying to figure out all the things by yourself. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's a way of fast tracking your career. It's almost, like I said, not at all debatable, because not at all, apart from the mentorship, you also get someone that can help you in to handle the difficult things that comes along. And I mean, that does happen, unfortunately, and you don't learn if it doesn't happen. So you've got this kind of a bit of a safeguard behind you. And also, you can relax about things like administration and how to run a practice, because you don't have to be bothered with that. So you can just focus on your career in the beginning of your, that was it. When I worked for Uli, I only needed to do dentistry, I looked a little bit of how they did the admin, because it was a medical aid practice. And initially, I also started a medical aid practice. I was a medical aid practice for about 4 years, to be honest,
Okay.
before I changed over. But the business, the running of the business was less important for me than really getting the skills of clinical dentistry, from him.
And at the moment, the running of the business is quite important for you, I believe, because you've got 2 practices that you're running, and you are the main admin person, or not.
Yeah. Look, it has been for all the years that I've had the practice. As soon as you go beyond being a single practitioner, the management becomes definitely almost a 50-50% shareholder of your time and attention. So, that is, and it's also, it changes with time. The clinical part is almost easier, because that's the thing that that at the moment I love most. But for many years, I had a passion for both of it, the clinical part as well as the administration and the financial management of the practice. But that is the less exciting and less, it's just like hard work all the time, and putting in hours and checking and balances all the time. You can't let it go.
But how do you just give us an example of what your week looks like? How many time you spend clinical? How many time you spend in the
at the moment
admin?
I work 4 days a week full-time clinical, and then I'm very privileged to have a periodontist that uses my room on a Tuesday. And then Tuesdays the admin part is basically divided up in 2 parts, or not the admin, the running of the practice, the non-clinical running of the practice, in 2 parts. The one is financial management, and the other one is the day-to-day operational management, which includes procurement, HR, and things like that. So on a Tuesday, I spend time with my practice manager and clinical coordinator and any other staff members and reception staff and so on with a admin meeting. And we try to accumulate all the issues that happens in the past week and discuss that things that might have gone wrong and things that needs attention of the week that went past. And then we also plan for the week ahead and see if there's things that we can do to make the week ahead easier. So that's so on that day, and then I'd spend time with reps and anything else but like normal dentistry. The financial management happens after hours, so that's also something that is actually quite almost like it's got a life of its own. It's very organized and routined. There I make use of daily tasks, which is very like looking at your bank account, making sure EFTs are going through for processing and things like that. Then you've got weekly tasks and then monthly tasks, and then once a year you've got your financial end of year, all those things that needs to happen. So those things are quite in a good place. I don't even have to think. I know what has to happen on the 25th and the 7th, and and everyone. If you don't have that in place in your mind, then it is a good idea just to make a list of things that needs to happen. So I work a lot with daily tasks, weekly tasks, and monthly tasks in all spheres of the practice. Okay. And if you, like I said, put it on paper. We also have a blueprint, and I would really recommend that for any practice owner, whether you're a single practitioner or a big group, is to have a blueprint, which is a document that actually everything and how things are done in the practice and how things happens get written up in this blueprint. It's a dynamic document, so it can change all the time. You can make decisions. No, this is not working for us. Let's change this, and so on. Okay.
Yeah, we've got I always talk about our study group, and one of the guys in our study group is called Stellenbosch. He always talks about systems. Everything should be in a system, and a system should be in place. And if anything goes wrong in the practice, you don't blame the person, you blame the system, because the system failed the person. And I think that's kind of what you mean with the blueprint as well. There's the way of doing things, and it's in the blueprint. And if you're not doing it that way, then we must figure out if the blueprint is right or wrong. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. That's why I say it is something that needs to change all the time, because you can have the best ideas, but if it's not enforceable or your staff is not compliant to the rule, then it doesn't serve you. So I agree with what you said about Darby, is that look, I think all practices has got the same challenges and issues, but one of the things that is very important is that staff needs to have an exact job description of what they need to do and what their responsibility is, and try not to have that to over that two people are responsible for the same job, because then you're looking for trouble, systems work, but you must also not be so rigid that it rules your life. And there mustn't be, the more systems there are, the more you don't leave a lot of space for initiative. So one must be careful of that as well. It is difficult. It's not, from outside it always looks like practices are super organized and so on. I also look at other practices and think, gosh, they look so with it. But I think everyone actually have got the same challenges, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. And I think one of the big problems for all of us is, and definitely I'm not speaking for myself and our practice more, is we try to want to work ourselves out of a problem instead of fixing the problem. And by that, I mean, if we've got an administrative problem, we'd rather work harder to make up that money that we're losing on the admin side than to fix the admin problem. And I think that's where someone like you, and I know definitely someone like Darby's got it right, where your admin is in place and your systems are in place. So you don't have to work so hard, because you're not maybe losing that money because your system is in place. And a good place to start is to be a practice that doesn't work with medical aids. I think as soon as you get away from the medical aid side, you can work a little bit less and spend some more time on your admin, because the money is actually coming in. Your money is going to come in, and you can relax about maybe turning over patients and just start doing good dentistry and start looking at your admin.
Yeah, I think the other value of systems is that, and what I said earlier is quite important, is to get your team on the same page. So you need to spend a lot of time with your team. Like we have got once a year, every year in January, we take a day off out of the practice. I do a lot of preparation with all the parties involved. That's the dentist, the practice managers, the admin staff, and so on. And then we have a workshop. And on that workshop, we reiterate the blueprint. We make changes if we need to. We make a little bit of fun at the workshop as well. So it's a workshop / team building day. But the biggest single secret is two things, I think, is to work smarter, not harder. And then to be proactive and not reactive. We often, and in our own practice, we have found times that where the practice is going under stress and people are not working in the best environment that they would like to, is when we are reactive to problems and we're constantly in problem and solution, problem solving and damage control. When you are proactive, and that's what I say, I always feel like in the morning, my staff has got a huddle in the bigger practice in Noordhoek, where they look at the day ahead. So see if there's any issues, like someone that owes us money, or there's an opening where we can put an emergency in, or there's an opening at the oral hygienist that we might need to fill. And they look at the day. Then they look for the week ahead. Is there any patients that lab that needs to be back? Is there implant components that needs to be ordered? And then they look at the day that has gone by. Is there issues there that happened that we need to solve? Maybe I can't think of anything now. Someone that needs to be followed up, extractions that need to be followed up if they're okay, or root canal treatments, or a reference letter that needs to be written. So in that way, you are always planning immediately for today. You plan for the week ahead, and you look at yesterday and see if there's stuff that needed to be done. And I stress a lot to the staff that they need to do their daily tasks daily. You cannot carry daily tasks all over to the next day. Things that's also important, immediately handle your emails. For me, the reception of patients is on basically on 3 portals. So the one is the patient that walks into the rooms, and then the one is the patient that phones, and the other one that contact us by email or WhatsApp or some form of digital form. And those are high priority. You can't let the email wait for this afternoon, someone that sent it this morning, So those are all the things that gets handled at the huddle first thing in the morning.
Okay. I think that morning huddle is very important. And a lot of us, I used to do it a lot, and I've kind of not been doing it, but it just gets everyone on the same page early in the morning, and everyone on the same, and it's good for morale and good for the mood as well, I think. So that's a very important thing, I think, in every practice, is to do a bit of a morning huddle.
and it starts everyone off calm and feeling prepared for the day. And then
Exactly.
when things go wrong, and so much can go wrong in a dental practice, then you're not having to worry about other things because you know that the rest of the day is in place, you know.
Yeah. That it's small things like that. Implant components, is it there? And the lab work, is it there? It's stuff like that. When a patient sits there and you start looking for implant components, you make everyone feel bad about the situation, not just yourself, but the patient's nervous and everyone's nervous. So it's always good to be prepared, especially when it comes to, I think, with implants, especially because the implant components is a thing that can disappear very quickly. I found in my practice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, there has to be a system for everything as far as that is concerned. And you know, if the pawpaw hits the fan, then the blame shifting happens. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so yeah.
Janel, I want to
Anyway.
talk about your a little bit more outside of dentistry, the More Than Dentistry podcast. So, what do you do to re-energize yourself, and how do you relax, except for
Well, you know,
dentistry?
for me, for about the last 2 years since I've decided to, well, that's almost been a 4-year project, that to open Simonstown, there's been very little space for private life. But yeah, no, I love traveling. I'm very, very fortunate that I've got a partner. He's British, and we travel quite a bit. And we're also fortunate that I'm a city person, so I love going to cities and so on. And we're fortunate to have a home in England as well, in London. So that's one of the things, and that's where I relax most. Is, you know, I will take my work wherever I go, whether we go to the UK, and he's also got a place in Mauritius. I will take work with me because I do love my work. A lot of my things, of my joy that I get is both the clinical, you know, advancing myself in my skills and so on, and the management of it. The human relations part is the challenging part, so that I need a break from now and again. And then I love reading a lot. I travel a lot. I live quite far away from our practice, so I'm an avid audible.com listener or reader, whatever. I've looked recently. I think in the last, I've got 400 books that I've read on Audible, so I absolutely loved it. And I love biographies and a lot of crime. Unfortunately, it's not true crime. I'm not a person that likes a lot of fiction, but biographies I learn a lot from, and not from dentistry, from other industries. You know, at the end of the day, all industries are more or less the same, but you learn a lot from people if you listen to their stories and things. That's basically what you're doing with this podcast as well. And then I've got a great passion for animals. I've been a director of an animal welfare organization for many years, and now our practice does a once a year event for them. And I've got rescue animals as well. Between me and Greg, we've got 5. And then I also love wine, which is the one hobby that I always say to people, and I'm serious, I don't drink enough, but we collect wine. But unfortunately, I've neglected that hobby greatly. Hopefully this year can be different. You know,
Well, you've got 3 weeks to catch up with that hobby. I'm sure you can use this time well.
Yeah.
I think we are pretty much the halfway mark now, with the half an hour mark now. And I want to thank you. It's always nice to catch up on you on courses, and it's always nice to see you all over, and we always learn a lot from you. And I want to thank you for the contribution you do for dentistry and the people that work for you. Like I said, I've never heard anyone where people speak so highly of their boss like yourself. Everyone's always got a very good word to say about you. So you're obviously doing something right. And hopefully the little bit of information we got out of you, we can pass on to the younger dentists. Is there anything else you want to add on? Is there any tip or trick, or maybe a good book that you've read that you want the young dentist to read before we go?
No, I think from my side, I just think, and I think it's the same for many people, my peers, is it's nice to give back. You know, there comes a time that you need to, and like I said, I just passing on what I've received when I was a young dentist. As far as books and so on is concerned, no, not really. I learn a lot from from biographies, like I said, and wide and far away. You can follow blogs of dentistry, and there's a lot. And I mean, that's what's so amazing, is that you can go on the internet and learn from so many. But I think go out of our field, go to other industries. I've learned a lot from listening to biographies, and especially for women in dentistry, to listen to other women in business. I've learned a lot from listening to biographies of people like Grace Coddington and Alexandra Schulman. Those are people that's in the fashion industry, and I'm not really into fashion or anything, but it's just finding mentors outside of dentistry that you can relate to as a woman as well. So women has got different issues in dentistry, and look, I feel I never feel like there's chauvinism in dentistry. I haven't experienced any of that, but we do definitely have different issues than men as well. But yeah, that's my idea. Just learn from other people. Even at my age, I still learn, all the time from around me. If you stop that learning culture, then I think that's when you start stagnating.
On that topic of women in dentistry, I've interviewed Corneille and I've interviewed you now for the podcast, and that's the two ones the two women that came to mind when I first started thinking about the podcast. Is there any woman that inspires you in dentistry that you think we should also get on the podcast in South Africa or abroad?
In South Africa, there are many. There are really many. I mean, Janel Khan, she's also an amazing dentist. I think she worked in the UK for a bit. There's specialist female dentist that has got very interesting insights. Petra van der Merwe, who's the orthodontist, who also looks from a very different angle at dentistry. I mean, specialists that I work with, Corleen Schnettler, is wonderful. So there are plenty of female dentists in South Africa that we can, that you can talk to. That's going to be incredibly inspirational. We're not a special group. I mean, there's no group of dentists, women in dentistry. Unfortunately, we should actually start a group.
I think so.
But yeah, I mean, you've already spoken to Shanne. Shanne Breitenbach is another one, just from a young point of view, how they see dentistry now and the challenges. I think there's a lot of challenges for young dentists now that we didn't have.
There's definitely a change. I've been doing this composite course now, and the most people who wants to learn is young female dentists. You get the guys as well, but there's more girls trying to enroll for courses and doing stuff like that. So I think there's definitely a bigger uptake in female dentists in the university. So there's more female dentists getting trained. So I think female dentists are definitely in the younger market. There's a lot of young girls who's out there, is very keen to learn and who wants to go quite far. I see Shanne, who works for you, also cum laude orthodontic diploma. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, no, she's done extremely well, and she's really geared on her career. And I think that's maybe one of the things that you might find, I'm not sure, but with more female dentists coming to the market, often they're not the breadwinners. They might be married with a husband that's a breadwinner and so on. And then the focus on their career and getting pleasure out of their career and bettering themselves is a higher priority than just keeping money. Exactly, which is often the issue for men. That they have got a family and they need to be the provider. So juggling those issues are things that people have to consider for themselves. But that's the nice thing about dentistry. You just need to sit and really seriously think about your career and yourself in your career and in your business, and then position yourself exactly where you want to. Have a dream. You might not be able to reach that dream, but without a dream and a goal and a mission, you are lost, and then you can't plan. And that, I think, is important. I was thinking when I was going to talk to you about one of the things that when I started my practice, I had I don't want to make a long story of it, but I had a mission, and I drove over Kaapstad. People that does the August will know what I'm talking about. I practice in Noordhoek, that deep south at Cape Point almost. And I saw this area, and there was about 20 homes, and I just thought, I want to be the best dentist for this area, for all the people of the area. I didn't think about the rest of Cape Town or people from overseas or anything. And that is still my mission. So you need to have a mission and a goal, but sit and think hard. And it can be simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. And then let that be the core of what you are going to do. All the
Yeah,
other
I
things
think
that came afterwards was a bonus for me.
yeah, that's so true. Having a plan and knowing where you're going, then it helps. If you're just going to fall around and work at a different practice every year and then do a different. I spoke to Howard Gluckman 2 or 3 days ago, me and Valdu, and I said to him, what does he think? Is it important to kind of specialize in some kind of field in dentistry as a general practitioner? Let's say you enjoy orthodontics, try and specialize, not specialize in the sense of going to university, but specialize in that field. And he said he doesn't feel like it's important. You can be a good dentist and be a very good general dentist. But I still believe that you should kind of decide what you like and spend your time on that. Don't try and be everything for everyone. I think that's impossible. You should decide what you like and what you don't like. And the things you don't like, you should refer. And if you can decide that early in your career, you're gonna have way fewer headaches than trying to juggle all the balls and trying to do every single procedure for every single person, where there's actually someone else better out there for that person to do, maybe let's say a root canal or crown, and you can do the orthodontics. Do you also agree with that?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. We're lucky that we work in a practice which we have now for the last 4 years moved towards a multidisciplinary approach where different people work in the practice. They each develop their own skills according to their preference, and then we cross-refer within the practice. But that's obviously difficult when you're a one-man practice. The other thing that I can also say to that, look at the environment that you are working in. If you're working in the area that's young with lots of schools, then you need to address the needs of that area. In the area where I work, and that's how my what do you call it now, pet love of dentistry, which is bruxism and rehabs, has come from. I work in an area where there's older people, and I've seen bruxing cases over so many years, and eventually, slowly, I started getting solutions for that. I mean, long before injection molding and things like this was available to us, I've started making my own plans of building up and increasing the vertical height and so on, and now that is my passion. I absolutely loved it, but it happened because of the amount of older people in the area. And so there's lots of opportunities. Open your eyes, look at what goes on around you. And I think that's incredibly important, especially now in the midst of what's happening now in the world. You always have to look at your immediate environment, then look at the national environment, like the economics that South Africa is going through. What is the disposable income of your patients in your area? And then you look at the global situation, not just financially, but also trends. I mean, we've spoken a bit about it last week as well, with the changing of dentistry, because COVID is going to change everything for us. You need to now take this time of lockdown and start thinking, how are you going to enter, and what is the possibilities of when we enter into our workplace again, and start making plans, be proactive. And I think that's things that you're going to probably talk a lot about on your blogs in future. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I think the world is definitely changing as we're sitting here at the moment. So we're going to be in for interesting times. But I think the nice thing about our profession, just to quickly talk about the COVID situation, is at least we've got a profession where people always need us, and we're going to have to get in there, where other people, I think, might end up losing their businesses and losing their income. And so I think, the whole world is changing rapidly around us at the moment.
Yeah, and the other thing about dentists, which I think is incredible, we are fixers. We fix things. We fix things that's broken. We fix things that's sore. So all that you now have to do is just think of how you're going to fix the situation. I think we're survivors. And it's also with anything that's bad or that's not great, like what's happening now, there is actually often more opportunities than meets the eye. So it's just getting calm in your mind, and then sitting, and like I said, start thinking out of your own, and what is the situation going to be, and how I can survive through this, and what is the way forward. And you, as dentists, will find a way. We always do.
Yeah, we will survive this whole thing. Janel, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for taking time out, and we really appreciate what you do for us. And we'll probably see you at the next course or something again.
Absolutely, it's a great pleasure. Thanks, Evert, and thanks for your. I enjoy your blogs. Thanks, Nat.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye-bye.